Hey guys, it's time for Truth Talk. Insightful topics that spark real conversations. Thank you for joining. Let's get this started.
Hi,
Hi.
Cheryl Bean.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for joining me. And one of the things that I wanted to do in this election cycle is I wanted to give an opportunity for the candidates to, kind of get to know. As you
Mhm.
know, forums, they're pretty like rapid fire, right?
Mhm.
And so I wanted to take it a little bit, a step further to actually say, hey, who is Cheryl Bean? And why is she running? And what does she believe that her leadership would bring to Texas? So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
When I started looking you up, I was like, okay, who is Cheryl Bean? And so I started looking at that you grew up in Fort Worth,
Mhm.
and you've built your life and your business here, and you've raised your family, your grandmother. You're a Christian conservative and a successful entrepreneur, and you've been in construction. We've talked about what 17 years now.
Mhm.
So, before I get into some of the questions I want to ask, who is Cheryl Bean?
Well, I'm a businesswoman, obviously. I am the only son, and I say that in quotes that my dad had. So I was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always took after him in many ways. I have a
Mm-hmm.
very creative, artistic side, but I started life as at A&M, in terms of career
Mm-hmm.
wise. And then from there in engineering, went to work at Lockheed for many General Dynamics and ended up
Mm-hmm.
spending 20 years in defense first. And that was climbing that corporate ladder. At that time, breaking that glass ceiling that was very prevalent in a male dominated engineering degree, which was hardcore engineering. So
Yeah.
loved the job, loved the experience, got to do some really interesting things, traveled the world, talked to and briefed heads of states and heads of countries, heads of whatever, of
That's
companies,
exciting.
you name it, all over the
Mm-hmm.
world, all over the U.S. It was an exciting time to do that. And then there came a time, which happens, I think, to many career women. I grew up in the you can do it all, babe.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is you can, but not necessarily at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
And those 4 children were hitting middle school and high school. I was traveling. My husband was
Mm-hmm.
traveling. Something had to give. So I took
Right.
a few years off to be a full time mom.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I almost kicked and screamed out the door, but am so grateful that I did.
They need that foundation.
They
They
need that
do,
foundation.
especially during those years. Yeah.
Yes, because when they're little, I had a nanny to do that kind of career
Mm-hmm.
that traveled with me with kids until they got in school. But there comes a point where they need a parent to really
Mm-hmm.
instill those values and to, quite frankly, be fully aware of what they were doing. So
Right.
then I
Right.
became volunteer queen, running PTAs and all kinds of things like that.
Mm-hmm.
As I got them off to school, went back to work, but I thought, I've done the defense world and I actually went back to an Israeli company for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that just wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. I was ready to do something a little different. So I started my own construction company. I had originally wanted to be an architect. So I went
Mm-hmm.
out and started my own construction company, $10,000 out of my office there at the house,
Mm-hmm.
just me and one other guy that kind of got it going
Mm-hmm.
and grew it for the next 17 years. And it pretty much doubled in size every year for the first 10 years. And then we
Mm-hmm.
kind of hit that sweet spot
Mm-hmm.
and maintained that. I guess at the peak, I had, I don't know, 10 to 12 employees and about as many
Oh, okay.
um,
Moderately.
1099s
Yeah.
that were
Mm-hmm.
working with us,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it was a great experience and I actually loved it. So I went from briefing all these high-powered people around the world and
Mm-hmm.
everything to sitting across the table with mom and pops and negotiating deals with that. So that's kind
That's
of my background.
interesting.
Hmm.
So tell me what interests you in getting into politics. I know this isn't your first rodeo, right?
Yes, no,
So,
it's not.
and it was a close call the last time.
Hmm.
And but what really is driving you to get into the political realm? Because you and I both know that it can be brutal. It can
Yes, I
be
experienced
brutal.
brutal.
Yeah, it can be brutal. But why do you, at this time, why do you feel like it's time? And I think, based on my leadership, my experiences, that I can give what to the Texans residents.
I have always been more motivated by making a difference than by money. I'll just be honest. Some people it's money, some people it's power. For me, it's making a difference. So as I kind of got, 15, 14, whatever years into this second career that I had, I also got more and more involved in the political realm. And that had a lot to do with Obama becoming president. And then we moved forward, and I got really kind of more involved because I could see the course of the America I grew up in changing.
Right.
In fact, not only was it changing, but it was going back and repeating history to me because I was a teenager in the late 60s, 70s. And if you remember, riots and racial issues and all of that stuff was just absolutely drugs was blowing up. Well, guess what? About, within the last 10 years, it's the same thing.
Right.
All over again. And it took a lot of years, in fact, decades, to recover from it the last time. And I saw the direction going the same way, and I thought, I don't want this for my kids. I don't want this for anybody. I've experienced it. I can go help deal with it. Furthermore, if you look at the issues that are facing America right now, and Texas in particular, because as far as I'm concerned, we're the heartbeat of America, for that matter, we're Texas.
Right.
The things that we're struggling, we were really good here in Texas with business, but there were a lot of people and a lot of influencers who wanted to squelch it. I can say that word. Either because of energy stuff, the green energy stuff was absolutely, even the building industry was regulating so much and driving costs up so high. You had that issue. You had all kinds of things that were doing that. The other thing is we came up with a wide open border. Well,
Yeah.
I really 40 years, 20 years with Lockheed and the Israeli company, but 40 years collectively in the defense world where I was either doing threat assessments and applying technology. And for the last 10 years, I've partnered with my husband and with a company that actually moves special forces around the world. So we were in those really wonderful places like Afghanistan. In fact, we were one of the very last to leave. And in Northern Africa. So if you want to talk about threats coming across our border, I understand the Muslim Sharia law threat. I lived there, worked there, done that. If you want to talk the cartel, most people don't realize they're the most vicious and biggest terrorist in the entire world. I understood what that meant. I know how to counter that. And the same thing with the Chinese. I've been in the high-tech world with top security clearances most of my life. I understand what they do and how they do it. And it was like we were just laying down and being run over. So once again, there's another area that I was heavily involved in and had the experience. And then sometimes God plants you in places you don't expect to be planted.
Yep.
So
I understand that.
about 5 or 6 years ago, I ended up being asked to join a public charter school board. And in that, I got a first upfront row seat to what education is like. And I got involved with all of the, let's just say, woke issues that were being taught and indoctrinated in the school. And, there was a lot of gender confusion being pushed on children. Children were hurting themselves. I saw it firsthand. I got involved with Riley Gaines. In fact, ran right behind her on one of the gauntlets when we signed the bill that said no men and women's sports anymore. I was right behind her having stuff thrown on us and everything, doing that. So I got involved in that. I got involved in budgets. I could see the teachers working very hard with very good hearts who are hamstringed by
That's right.
regulations.
They are.
And by,
They are.
you can't control these children because if you dare reach out and touch them, you can be sued. There's just so much there. So that education became really important to me as well. And
Well, it's
then
the future.
for the future,
It's
yes,
the future. Yeah.
absolutely. Because honestly, I'm a public school girl. We chose to put our kids in public school because I like the real world.
Right.
Okay. And my grandchildren have started there, but there's some of them are now in private schools as they hit middle school because it was just,
Yeah.
they weren't getting what they needed
It's
anymore.
unfortunate. I mean, the
No.
scores show it.
They do.
The scores have shown
Yeah.
it and how they've declined. And I for one, think that the No Child Left Behind,
Fine.
I think that hurt more than help. I mean, I just do. Because it's like you can't fail anybody. And so kids really don't have an incentive to try as hard. That's just my personal, I mean, when I've seen, because I used to be a substitute, and I've seen like how hard they don't work. And so I think it's been challenging though now that we have no cell phones. And
That's helping tremendously. That's helping tremendously. But they still impact us because our kids and grandkids, they are so good at those cell phones and they can find anything and everything.
Oh yeah.
And so what they are exposed to on those is scary. They
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
it in school, but they have it, everywhere
Mm-hmm.
they go. And it's frightening what they get exposed to.
Yes.
Anyway, those are just a few of the issues. I'm also at the point where I am heading into really making the active choice. We sold a company that was doing the transporting and doing government work in August, I think. And I'm very close to winding down my construction company so that I can spend time making a difference in these areas. And so I have the time now. And I also realized, okay, I'm very fortunate in that I have the means to go through this and to do this job and not depend on an income for it. But it's really irritating that the houses I've now paid off are all taxed higher than what my loans originally were. So we got to deal with that too. I just felt like God set me and planted me in very unique places to direct the problems that we are facing today in Texas. And to me, the house is the area that needs the most help.
Yeah, and I know you know Brian Harrison. I know that he's been very vocal on. Unfortunately, a lot of folks on our side, it's like, okay, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing?
Right.
And there needs to be a pivot that okay, everybody, we need to make sure that we're getting these things passed and stop taking extra long weekends. That was horrible. I think
was
that was a lot
ridiculous.
of wasted taxpayer dollars. And
Right.
so those are the kind of things we have to have people that actually are going to work.
Right.
And it's important. So let me go back to real quick. You touched on it on border security. I've seen some of your posts where you talk about the Sharia law, the issues that are coming out, and so and I've even said this, and of course they start slamming you with Islamophobe and all this kind of stuff, but it's a real problem. It is a real problem, and I think that people don't really realize that. So, kind of expand a little bit on that, on your thoughts about what you're hearing in your circle and what you're seeing, just to kind of educate some people.
Well, we hide behind the fact that it's a considered Muslim and Islam's a religion. It's also a war. It is literally a war. And if you read the Quran, which I've read quite a bit of it, you will find in there that their goal is to go out and conquer the infidels. That's you and me. Let's just be blunt. That's you and me. And they have several strategies for doing that. One is just to outpopulate us. They're having 8, 10 kids apiece. We are down to 1.5, I think is the average.
Yeah,
Some
that's right.
ridiculous thing like that.
Yeah.
And which is the reason we're saying we need more people coming in because we don't reproduce at high rates. They're producing very rapidly. And if you go around the world, that is their first and foremost way of conquering is to overwhelm. And all you have to do is look in Michigan and some of those Detroit and some of those places where they have overwhelmed to the point that now they're in Congress and they're in our upper tiers of the government. And so then they're changing to Sharia law. Go look at England. They have so many equivalent mayors. We have one.
Yes.
But a good portion of their
Yeah.
populace now is an Islamic, a Muslim person who has implemented parallel Sharia law. Sharia law is in conflict with our Constitution, 100%, completely different. The other thing is, their gateway to heaven, many believe, is to killing infidels. Whether it's suicide bombings, flying into whatever buildings, whatever it might be, that is genuinely part of their deals. when my husband and I were working a lot in the Middle East as part of our world that we were doing over there. We got so close at one point that one of the young sheiks wanted my daughter, my middle daughter, to be part of his harem or part of his extra wife. Now, she was 16, 17. It was like, no, you don't need to come to this anymore. We were just at a company kind of party deal. But it was kind of funny now to look back on it. But both of us kind of don't going to do that. But very friendly. And I'm not saying they're not wonderful people who happen to be Muslim. I'm not saying that at all. But what we experienced was with very fluent English, very friendly, very whatever. But when they wanted to say something that or to express a thought that they didn't want we, the infidels, to understand, they would revert to their native language. Well, my husband got pretty good over the years because we happened to do that for many, many years, where he could understand. Frequently, the comments being made were, these stupid infidels, we're going to get them and we're going to get their technology and yada, yada, yada. So,
wow.
Yeah, in the background. So, anyway, I'm not opposed to anybody having their own religion, but I don't want that religion forcibly used to take over our religion and our freedoms and rights. Christian loving people are very forgiving, very accepting, but at some point we got to stand up and fight back and say, no, America was found on Christianity. It was found on biblical values and biblical principles, and that's what we want to keep. You are welcome to live here, but you need to work within our system, not the other way around.
Right. And I agree with that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the other thing that's been going around is THC and legalizing marijuana. There's a lot of, yes, do it. But there's a lot of rules and regulations where they're making it very difficult to allow the THC part. So tell me where you stand on that.
I also serve on the MHMR board, which is the mental health board at Tarrant County. And as part of that, I have toured all of their facilities, and I try to go, once or twice a month, I go see some new ones. And if you talk to anyone in the rehab areas with the drug addicts that are on the street, they will all tell you marijuana is a gateway drug. It's a start drug. And in fact, as you roll those things now, I don't remember the correct terminology, they're frequently laced with something much harder that people don't necessarily know about, okay, that they roll them with. But the other thing is THC, they say, it's harmless, it's not going to get you well. It's chemically made. And it was only just a month or two ago, I was right over here at a facility that's not very far from where we are right now, and talking to the woman who deals with high schoolers in particular. And I said, so what about that? You can eat those little gummy bears or the little brownies or whatever. She said, yeah. But people who like those get addicted to those, and they're not eating one a day. They're eating one an hour, and it shows up, and it leads to more and more and more. So, in fact, you are on a fairly good high at that point.
Yeah.
And it's going to register as in your urine samples and everything else. So that, and like I said, and before long, they're taking those, I really wish I could remember what they called them, the pipes or whatever, and they're lacing them with fentanyl.
Okay, see, I did not
and
know
all
that.
kinds of things.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
So am I for it? No, I'm not.
Right.
I really am not, because it leads to heavier and heavier and heavier addiction. Maybe not for everybody, but it certainly does for a lot. And I know the veterans, and some people say, that have been injured and different things, that really helps them. This may sound very insensitive. At some point, we all hurt. Valerum is pretty darn good at those muscle aches. My feet get those regularly.
Yeah, right.
But it doesn't have an addiction factor to it. And there really, truly is addiction associated with the other.
And it is. And, when I substituted, one of the biggest things that the kids did was bake bars. And they'd be high. And I saw that, they couldn't get anything done. They were too high.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand how some people, it's okay, weed's fine. I'm like, you become impaired. You really can't think straight.
Yeah.
and you probably want to eat everything in sight. So, I mean, I don't understand that part, but yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I know that's going to be a kind of a hot topic, the THC piece of it. Okay, so let me go on casinos.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about casinos. That's the buzzword now because people believe that, hey, if we had casinos, yes, it'd be great. More money coming into the economy, things like that. But where is your stance when it comes to casinos?
Let's put it this way. I spent the last 9 months taking on casinos. Okay. Particularly Sands.
So this is to say you're not getting any kind of money from casinos.
Oh my gosh, no.
Okay.
Money will be coming at me, not for me.
Mm.
Okay. My last, I told you I ran the race the last time, and I was basically 20 points ahead when early voting started and casino money landed. The biggest single contribution we've seen in Texas in 10 years.
Wow.
It was huge. It was $500,000 a week in TV commercials.
Oh my.
Unheard of. I know. And I went from 20 points ahead to just barely losing. But so honestly, prior to that, I've never been a fan of gambling because I know me. I'm too cheap, number one, to waste my money. I'm not very good at it, number two. But, I really wasn't hard over one way or the other. What I realized is we have out-of-state billionaires with very strong ties to China trying to buy Texas right now. And when I say strong ties to China, they have no casinos or anything in the United States. It's all in China at this point. And most of the heads of their company is in China. The only thing here is a corporate headquarters and a Chinese education/indoctrination center in Las Vegas.
Really?
Yes. So why do they want to come to Texas? Well, there's only 5 states in Texas that don't have, legalized casino gambling. It's called level 3. And so, and you look at our economy, that's like getting a whole new country, right? So we are prime,
Right.
right? And they have actually bought the old Cowboy Stadium over there. So
I had heard about that. I wasn't sure. I didn't know. So they bought that
land.
Yeah, in Irving, right? Okay.
They bought that land and a couple of things. So their goal was to go ahead and get permits in place and zoning such that if and when it's legalized, gambling is legalized, they have a foothold. Why is that important? Because federal tribal law says that if you go from class 2 to class 3 gambling, which is what that would be, federal Indian tribes have the right to earn a living with gambling. And they can work straightly with the governor at that time. If they don't get the answer there, they go straight to the federal government. And you have Oklahoma, where you have casinos everywhere uncontrolled.
Right.
All right. So you look around in Texas, there are 24 recognized tribes with history in Texas. 24.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Most people don't know that.
I did not know that.
They may not be here now. That doesn't matter. There's 24 that are legally able to do that. And when you think about it, the whole lottery issue that came up last year, it was not the first time someone had made a huge pot of money from out of the country. What was critical was to earn that kind of money to buy that many tickets in such a short time frame, you had to go to automated tickets distribution, electronic tickets. That pushed them to class 3. Wow. And the Kickapoo tribe sent notice to the state saying, you have busted class 3 ceiling. We want to claim domain 200 miles diameter around our current tribal location, which is out there on the New Mexico border, which would hit all the way to Austin, if you don't change that. So we got excited about it, and we did that. Not many people know that. All right? Wow. So important for Sands to have a foothold in Texas so that they could have a presence in Texas and not immediately be run over by the Indian tribes. That's what happened to them in Florida. Okay? And I don't remember which tribe it is, but they had it. But if you don't think it's a problem, look at California. If you do very much research, you'll realize very quickly they're in all kinds of lawsuits because casinos are being set up almost in neighborhoods because they can't control it.
Right.
Federal Indian. So anyway, but the So I have a couple of things. The other thing I want you to be aware of, studies show that casinos make their money in destination resorts, which comes with a whole lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But their money actually comes from 10% of the populace that comes in those doors and becomes addicted to entire ruin of their whole
That
life.
makes sense. Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have that 10%, they are not able to turn a profit. So they are geared from the style of the seat to the games to the road that the flooring, everything.
Enticing.
Enticing. With the incentives. Oh, if you go just a few more, we'll give you free, blah, 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 blah. So it's very addictive. In fact, the American Psychiatric Association said it's more addictive than heroin, cocaine, any of that. So I ask you, if you were a legislator, would you legalize cocaine or anything like that because you think, oh, if we legalize it, it'll be more controlled? No, it's still going to kill people.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so is that level of gambling that not everybody gets caught, just like not everybody gets sucked into the thing, but it's a serious thing. So,
And then supply and demand, and I'm really mindful of the sex trafficking industry. And you think about, you think we got a problem now. You bring casinos in.
Oh,
because you're going to bring a whole lot of different people coming in here they're going to want that supply and demand.
right.
And it's going to really, really put a lot of our kids in more danger than what they are now. And they have to get those kids locally.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, yeah, that's not good.
That, all kinds of crime.
Yeah.
They say, they will tell you that they will monitor and do very well at keeping crime in control. Well, they do on their premises.
Right.
Go 2 blocks away.
No.
The other thing is, most people, when they say why they want casinos, well, I really hate driving to Oklahoma or to Louisiana or New Mexico and seeing Texas license plates, spending Texas money.
Mm-hmm.
That's their big thing.
Mm-hmm.
We would rather have that money coming here. The reality of it is, Texas gets a very small skim off of that. It seems like big dollars, but it's a small skim.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of goes to the state level. The local government, like Arlington and, HEB in this district, they have to pay for the increase in law enforcement, infrastructure, and everything that goes with it. That doesn't come back to them. So what happens is, yes, the state gets money. Just like they quote, lottery was going to fix Texas education issue.
Right.
Do you know how many days a year that pays for? 2 is all it pays for.
For a year? I mean, per year?
Yes, per year. 2 days is all it ever pays for. Sometimes 3, but 2 or 3. If you want to look at horse racing in Texas, do you know how much that pays for? Nothing. You as a taxpayer are supplementing it because it can't break even in Texas. So this promise of more money coming into Texas is somewhat bogus. It really, truly is.
And people don't really realize that at all.
No, they don't realize that. Furthermore, it's going to bring new business and new whatever to a community. There was a study done in Massachusetts, and they did a 10-year follow-up they just got 2 or 3 casinos back in, I guess, 2014. And it's one of my favorite studies that I've reviewed. I've gotten very knowledgeable about it now. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and the facts came out. Well, number one, 10% addicted people is where all the money is. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, yes, it's a little surge at the front, but guess where most of the employees come from? The local mom and pop shops. So local businesses.
So those closed down.
They closed down.
Wow.
Because first they take the workers.
Right.
Then they also take the clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I am so impressed, for instance, in this district and at how I've gotten real involved with the chambers and how involved all of the small businesses are.
Mm-hmm.
But a destination resort is like an all-inclusive resort. It brings all of that with it. And what it doesn't bring, it sucks in.
Right.
So guess what happens to all the rest of those small businesses?
Mm-hmm. And all of the taxes, all of the things that we need to
Yes.
continue to, improve, it all goes away. It makes total sense to me. And that's the thing this is why I wanted to bring that up, because people don't really realize. They think, oh, like you said, it's closer. And that's all. That's as far as they go. But it is the beginning of the downfall of a
Yes.
community.
Absolutely. The entertainment district in Arlington would be destroyed after a while. You wouldn't bring your kids in there, and you wouldn't do that.
No,
It would
because
be
no, you couldn't.
very different. And I know I'm stepping out on the line here
No,
to
that's
do this,
okay. Yeah.
but you will find I'm going to tell you the truth, and that's what I have discovered is the truth. So that's how I feel about casinos. Two things: they're harmful to the community, they're harmful for people, and I don't like out of state people buying our races. And they invested $84 million last session trying to do that. They're going to invest more this time.
Okay, we got to be mindful of that.
Yes.
And especially those that want their money and want to promote, especially knowing all of the harm
Right.
and you are running for office. Why would you want to do that?
Oh, that's easy. It's hard to earn the money to run for office. I think you've experienced that.
It is.
Okay. So imagine if somebody walks up and say, "Oh, I'll give you a couple of million."
Mm-hmm.
And for
But
a
be my
house
puppet.
race, yes, I think they spent what, $4 or $5 million against, Lee when she ran. I'm expecting the same, and I already know two of my opponents are seeking it actively. So it's hard to overcome that because I tell you what that looks like in a campaign. It's when that kind of money comes in, it's 3 commercials on every 30-minute segment of every channel every day. It's half a dozen mailers going out every day, 10 texts every day, and talk radio. And the most people, all they see is what they hear
Right,
on those
right.
medias.
Right.
And someone who's in that business doesn't care if they're telling the truth or not.
No.
They will lie boldly
Yeah.
and very boldly and do whatever they have to say. In fact, they will run, you will see the surveys coming out. How do you feel if you were to find out an opponent wants to defund the police? How would you feel
Yeah,
if
it's the way they spin it.
it's they do this, and what they're really finding is what triggers people to reject an opponent or a candidate more than anything else. And that's what they will say about whoever they're going against.
Right, right. And I totally agree with you there. And
So-
so I'm so glad that you broke that down because a lot of people really don't understand the interconnecting parts of it's just not a casino. I mean, and you're right. There's a reason why WinStar doesn't have mom and pops around there. There's a
Absolutely.
reason why because they could. There's enough land, but there's a reason why there's not a mall. There's a reason why those things aren't out there. And like you said, because it sucks everything in and everybody has a job there. And it's like, what kind of competition can a mom and pop have, right? So
You can't
You
keep up.
can't. You can't.
And there's one other thing to think about it. As a good Republican, what does casinos bring? Unions.
Yeah.
And these are not skilled unions. So what's that going to do to your community?
Yeah.
You're going to end up going more and more blue.
That's true.
I mean, there is just, when you really get in and dig into it, which, I did because I was victim of it in a different way, I can't find the good in it. They're all false promises.
right.
They
right.
really are, because it's not an industry that goes. When it gets right down to it, the people that are here locally or come here on a routine, it may go up a little bit, but not much, and then it stagnates.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's wiping out so much of the business that's here.
And that's really sad to see.
It is.
Especially here in Arlington. I've been here. How old is my daughter? 42. So I've been here since she was
Sneaks
a
up
month
on you,
old.
doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's changed so much, but it's always had like a family type of environment until, that's kind of changing fast. And it's really sad to see that. But anyway, so much for that.
I
So-
still see it.
Yeah, I see
really
it a lot.
well.
And there's a lot of families like, we want to keep it that way.
Good.
We want to keep it that way. Okay, so that brings me to property tax relief. Now, I know that we've got and it's good, that we did receive, what is it, $140,000 homestead. And that's
Exemption.
good. But what a lot of people don't understand, and we've talked about this even in our local races, is that it comes down to the appraisal piece.
Yes, I was waiting for that.
Appraisal piece, because your house can be worth 400,000, and then now it's worth 550,000. So that 140
Just
didn't
spirit.
do anything, and plus now you're paying more taxes. The difference, and see, people don't get that. They're like, "Oh, I get $140,000. Oh, that's great, but what are they going to appraise me at now?" And your taxes are really not going down. They are going up every single year. Even if a tax rate set by a school board is not changed, even if they keep it, that appraisal will still make you pay more. So what, because I've been hearing a lot of tax, property tax relief. And then you have this big bucket of, what is it, 24 billion surplus that we've been hearing about forever. And it's like, what are y'all doing with that? And many have said, well, we're going to put it towards property tax relief. And it's like, but we're not getting it in reality. What is your take? What do you think should happen?
Well, I think you're pretty smart, Kathy, because you hit on two of the biggies right there. We have got to get a handle on the appraisals, okay? Because it's a non-elected position, and you're right. It goes up and counters anything that legislation does from year to year. The other piece of that is, though, we have such a housing shortage.
Right.
A huge housing shortage. And there's 1,800, the last I checked, people coming to Texas every single day. The Metroplex is getting a large percentage of those. And if you look at it, okay, so we have a shortage. We're building tons of apartments and condos.
know.
People aren't happy about that, but do you know
No.
they're full to capacity every single year? We still aren't housing
Right.
people. We're still
Right.
coming in way super
And we're not getting
short.
property taxes from each of those individuals.
No, we're
No.
getting it from, they paying it in their rent because of the whatever. If they don't get caught up in this law that says you can set up as a nonprofit, low income thing, and then the city and county doesn't get anything from those. The other piece of that is, if you think about it, for every $1,000 we increase the price of a house, 20-something thousand people can no longer afford it in Texas.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
And so that's part of that energy thing I was talking about. We had to go put, at one point, the new code was to put a new EV charger in every single home. Well, I don't have any problems with an EV car, but if you don't drive one, you really don't want to pay that extra $1,000 or $1,500.
Right.
So it's all kinds of things like that. But I do think it's also complicated because usually you have a three-legged stool, right? We are a two-legged system right now to fund our local communities. We have sales tax and we have property tax. So you can't take away one of them without replacing it with something else.
That's true.
All right. And so I do think the surplus is a great idea. And it ranges from 20 to even 30, 40, 50 billion some years. But what happens to that money now? People think, oh, that's our property tax. No, it's not. It comes from oil and gas. 100%. Most people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So it comes from a totally different resource. So it needs, and then it goes into the general fund, which at the end of the session is almost like a feeding frenzy as to who can get their piece of that pie. It needs to go into property tax relief, segmented off. If it's an average of 20, 30 billion a year, let's just say that's going to go to that property tax relief right there.
And that looks like what?
What?
Just a check that comes back to them, or that it gets lowered, or what? What does that look like?
I don't
in your
really know
mind?
what that looks like, because the other piece of it is that I've discovered I have talked to pretty much every city manager and every mayor. I've got one to go, and I'm speaking to him this afternoon, and developed a relationship with them. And what I recognize is that, people keep saying, oh, well, property tax is driven locally. And some cities have really, not been good stewards of that money.
Yeah.
Okay. Some cities, many in this district, in fact, most in this district, have been very good stewards. And yet we keep cutting them down to where they're hurting, and they're hurting bad. And yet the state wants to keep saying, oh, it's a local issue problem. We just need to cap what the local can raise, or what they can ask for property tax. But if you also talk to those city managers and stuff, they're going to tell you, we used to have multiple ways of collecting revenue here locally. And a really good example is traffic tickets. Do you know that none of that money comes to the local county or city anymore? It all goes to the state. And then it comes back. There are multiple things like that.
I did not know that.
Most people don't know that. I didn't know that until I really started asking the question, where does your revenue come from? Property tax and sales tax, because almost everything else has been taken away and goes straight to central control. I don't think we need any more central control. We need some more distributed and give, the local people can have more control over what they're doing.
Right.
So there's several things you can do. Number one, I think the state needs, it needs a fixed budget too. We need to say no more.
Right.
We went up an unbelievable amount of money in our funds last year at the state. It was unprecedented. Well, they need to have a budget to work from. That general fund, I think I read on a post that just came out that Texas has the highest rainy day fund of any state in the entire U.S. pretty much.
It's raining, people.
It's raining. Yes. So I'm happy that we are good enough stewards to have one, but the local communities, the towns need the ability to fund their law enforcement and their first responders and their infrastructure.
Well, the budget would do that.
It would.
The budget would do that. They're not take from the rainy day fund. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's there, but to me, it's like something totally, I don't know, catastrophic or whatever.
Right.
But not as a piggy bank.
That's right. The other piece of it, too, is that what people don't realize is Arlington, Hearst, Euless, and Bedford, Dalworthington, and Pantego are all landlocked, 100%.
I didn't know that.
They cannot expand like a Fort Worth can or a Dallas can, or where they have open pasture land that they can expand to get new revenue coming in from property taxes. And that's why you're seeing a crunch. The only way Arlington and each of those cities can do it is by redeveloping land within, because they are totally encapsulated.
Wow.
When you get to the inner city of any given group, those are the more expensive homes to live in, right? Because they're centrally located. So younger people, first-time buyers, can't typically buy those.
Right.
So you know what
That's
else
a
is
problem.
That's a problem. And it's a real problem to towns who the over 65
That's another
population is getting to be over 65% or something. It's getting
Well, they're
big.
getting taxed out of their houses.
Right.
And the
they're getting-
newbies can't even afford those houses.
No.
Yeah.
But their taxes are capped. And so the cities are really hurting. Yes, I want to find other ways to do property tax. And part of it is let's put a fix on the state level. Let's look for other revenue sources. Let's bring back, one of my pet peeves is that laws are passed that are intended to fix a particular problem.
Yeah.
And they usually do really well. But there's a lot of chaff that goes out around it. Okay? And that's a military term. You hit this target and you take out 5 others at the same time accidentally. Okay? And that's happening a lot. We're doing things for, a problem over here that affects everybody else. We need to do that. We're also doing laws that require schools in particular. The administration cost at schools has gone up.
Right.
It's skyrocketed. Well, sitting on this school board that I'm sitting on, the paperwork has skyrocketed too.
It has.
And the administration has skyrocketed. If you want to pass a law that we need to, the teachers and the staff needs to handle and produce all this information, there needs to be a budget that comes with that, and that's kind of what's happening. That's why it's going out of control.
That's been happening for a long time.
So, we need to really watch what we're doing. For instance, we have 30 coming through and 121 coming through this community, right? They all have toll roads, toll lanes in them.
Right.
None of those communities get any benefit from those toll lanes, right? No, they don't. It goes to the state. Another example. Police, they have those concrete barriers that run along the side of them. There's an accident in that toll lane. Police can't get to them. They're getting run over on the roads. Did you realize that many are being taken out? So now most of these towns have been buying special equipment to lift and move those. Did they get any money for that? No. It's a whole mess that we're in right now
Yeah.
that we need to regroup. Here's one unique idea that I have, and there's a bunch more out there. But one unique idea is, we passed transactional gold this last session.
Mhm.
And if you don't know what that means you can buy into the gold reserve that Texas has.
Mhm.
So instead of buying gold coins, you can get a credit card and buy into the gold bank.
Mhm.
Well, like any other credit card, there will be transaction fees. Instead of that going into the general fund, also called slush fund,
Mhm.
let's make that go to property tax relief. Let's replace it.
That would be good.
So there's things like that.
Mhm.
Here's another thing. Education's a big part of the
Mhm.
property tax, right?
Mhm.
Are you aware, it's not official, but are you aware that almost 65% of the students in every one of these communities does not speak English and
Yeah,
is
I
not even
do.
here legally?
I am aware of that.
So they are not getting any tax revenue, but we are expected to educate, and it's driving every education down.
Yeah.
We need to do either make them go back and come back in legally, or
Yeah.
if you do come here and you don't speak English, your legal status independent, let's give them a concentrated English class for 6 months to a year, because kids are
Agreed.
so bright.
Mhm.
Instead of bringing the entire classroom down
Right.
to do that. I mean,
I agree with that.
yeah.
It would
I-
be very, very helpful, and you're right, because we have to kind of set up separate places and all, and that's okay. But to your point, it's like, can we just focus on the main thing that we need to focus on, and so that they can function in
Right.
this community? Okay. So real quick. All right. So my last question is, I am going to ask you about a rumor.
Okay.
So the rumor has been, and I've been told many times, that the reason why you're able to, be a candidate in
Uh-huh.
HD94, that you went off and bought a house so that you could be able to campaign, and your house really wasn't there, so you haven't been invested with the community. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, thank you for asking that question, because I am aware of that rumor and I get asked it from time to time. So it's kind of nice to be able to just address it once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start by saying I have been a resident of Tarrant County for 60 some odd years,
Mm-hmm.
more than any other candidate in this race. And I've lived in multiple areas of Tarrant County. And the reason that, yes, did we move this in 2024? This is 2025. I guess we're in 26 now. Yes, we did. But we moved for family reasons, and we moved before I had any awareness that Tony Tinderholt was going to retire and there would be an opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
I had kind of said, well, that wasn't meant to be for me to be a state rep. And so we moved because we had family issues. I'm going to tell you what it is. Back in 2014, we downsized from the larger family home that we raised our 4 kids in, because they were all grown. They were all done with school. 3 were married and 2 had kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought, okay, we don't really need this big house with that big property tax, which was very high at that point. So we downsized to a little garden home.
Mm-hmm.
Love the little garden home. But if you fast forward, several things changed. Number one, I now have 12 grandkids, and all kids are married. And then I have both my mom and my husband's mom were very ill. And we all were very close when we did that downsize, because as your parents get older, you end up spending a lot of time caring for them. Well, we've reached the point now that, number one, both our mothers have passed, so we don't have that proximity need. My kids have distributed, so they're not living just a mile away from me anymore. They've spread out over the Metroplex. And you cannot get 22 people in my house for Easter or Christmas or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we moved. And we were kind of, I don't know, I guess early 25, we started really kind of looking. We knew we wanted to move more towards the mid-cities because, like I said, I have kids in Frisco, Plano over there, as well as other areas. But we really hadn't found anything we wanted. And our really good friends, the Vincimona Puente, the house across the street from them came up for sale. And so they told us about it, and we thought about it, and we kind of let it, we don't know, we just didn't know. But the more we looked, we didn't find anything else. And so we finally went back to that one, and That's where we bought.
Okay.
And we bought it in the springtime,
Okay.
actually early May. So once again, yes. Did I change districts? Yes. Was I looking to move into this district particularly? No, I was looking for somewhere in the mid-cities areas. And, it's actually in far, far east Fort Worth. And had I been looking to run for office here, I would have chosen one of the major communities to live for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. I chose the house that had a little lake in the backyard with a pretty fountain and was the ugly duckling of the whole neighborhood. It really, truly was. We got it for a steal, which is good for me because that's what I do for a business.
Right.
So now
right.
it's my house, and we put as much into it as what we paid for it. And anyway, that's
Okay.
it.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, that's one thing that I've been asked. Like, when you talk to her, you better. I'm fine with that because I've been hearing that. So, well, I just wanted to get that on the record, and so thank you so much. I've learned so much just talking to you. There was a lot of things that I didn't understand, but you've definitely, especially about the casino. So thank you for that. And I'm hoping that anyone that wants to, know more about Miss Cheryl Bean, that this is very candid, it's not scripted, and just wanted to see where you stand. So let's do like the forums. You got 30 seconds. What do you want to say as you're closing?
That I'm very passionate about making a difference in Texas. I think that the House is the area that is the weakest right now in our legislature. It's weakest to me because that's where I have the most experience in that regard. Like I said, I'm the only real business candidate in here, and I have both corporate as well as small business personal ownership. And I have the defense world for the border and all of that, the only candidate with that, the only one with education experience. And, the only one that can work, Texas is really a country in and of itself in many ways. Not that I want to recede or anything, but, we need to be able to play on the big world as well as take care of the local community. And I think that even though I'm newer to the district, if you look, I have developed relationships with all the mayors and mayor pro tems and councilmen. I'm active in all the chambers. I go to all these things. I've done so many ribbon cuttings in the last 6 months. But that way I have gotten to know this community very well and fairly deep, but across the community, not just the friends that I ran around with earlier. So anyway, for that reason, I hope that you will give me the opportunity to serve and to serve you, because I'm not doing it to start a political career. I don't have desire to be governor or anything else. I want to go do my part to fix the house and to support this area.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And we'll get this thing out so that others can see who Cheryl Bean is.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Kathy. It's delightful.
Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button to never miss upcoming episodes. Until next time.